People often ask when war will end. They ask when humanity will finally live in peace. But if you look carefully at the history, war has always been present in one form or another. Sometimes it appears between nations, sometimes between religions, sometimes between political groups, and sometimes it appears quietly between individuals, even within families. For generations, people have tried to end war. Treaties have been signed, leaders have spoken about peace, movements have risen calling for unity, yet the conflict continues. The reason is simple, though it is rarely looked at directly. War is not only something that happens on battlefield. War begins in the mind. It begins the moment there is division, the moment there is my belief against your belief, my country against your country, my identity against your identity. Once the mind divides the world into this way, conflict becomes almost inevitable. Because each side feels it must defend what it believes to be true. And when millions of minds are conditioned to protect their own identities, their own beliefs, their own groups, the result eventually appears outwardly as war. So humanity tries to solve the problem at the surface, but the root remains untouched. As long as the mind continues to divide, the possibility of conflict will remain. This is why war in the collective sense may never completely end, because the same conditioned pattern continues to repeat themselves from generation to generation. But there is something very important to understand. While humanity as whole may continue its struggle, each individual still has a choice. The choice is not about controlling the world. The choice is about seeing clearly within oneself. To see how the mind creates division, how it forms identities, how it protects belief, how it separates me from others. When this is deeply understood, something begins to change. The mind no longer feels the same need to defend an image, a group, or ideology. And when that inner conflict comes to an end, the individual is no longer participating in the war of the mind. The world may continue its battles, but inwardly the war has stopped. Not because peace was forced, but because the mind has seen the entire structure of division and stepped out of it. So the question may not be when the war will end for humanity. The real question is whether one can see clearly enough to step out of the war within. Because while the world may continue fighting, each human being still has the possibility of living free from that conflict. And when that happens, something very simple becomes clear. What once felt like an unavoidable reality was largely sustained by illusion, by the divisions created in the mind. When those divisions are no longer believed in, the inner war ends. And when the inner war ends, illusion itself comes to an end in that mind.